When I was contemplating these conversations we would share together on Wednesday evening, I envisioned a journey. Here at Emmanuel, we often talk about our journey of faith. And I think that's a good metaphor for our life together and what we're striving to do as a community of faith. So, in thinking about these conversations, I thought about, even taking a short hike in the mountains. There are things you do, and there are things that you take with you. First of all, even for a day hike, you take a day pack and you fill it with the essentials, the things you might need on the journey. First of all, you make sure you have plenty of water for the time that you're going to be away. Then, because even the most beautiful day can turn into a rainy day, you make sure you have a rain jacket or a rain suit. Of course, you don't want to go without your first aid kit because you might injure yourself or you might have some blisters you need to take care of. You might not get off the mountain before dark is setting in, so you want to have a flashlight or a headlamp. You also might want to be prepared by having a knife or a multi-tool or, something to start a fire with. One of the most essential things you need is a map and a compass. You'll also need food because going up and down the trail, you're going to get hungry and need to rejuvenate your body with some good food, a snack along the way. These are the essentials for the journey. And I thought there might be some words for the journey of faith that we should take along with us. And as I thought about that, I thought a good place to begin, a good word to put in our pack at the very beginning was gratitude. But as I've thought about that since last week, I wondered if I jumped the gun, that yes, gratitude is an important word and it's in that top 3 that we should take with us, but maybe it wasn't the first word we should have taken. Maybe that first word should have been grace. Because maybe you have to experience some grace before you even get to gratitude. Now, grace is one of those words we throw around at church. We've heard it in church all of our lives, perhaps, but I'm not sure we have a good handle on what it means, at least theologically. Now, we deal with grace in other ways. We say a ballerina may be graceful. An opponent in an athletic competition might be a gracious loser. We talk about grace in lots of ways, but not necessarily as it comes to us through our biblical witness. Theologically, grace is a gift we don't deserve, a gift we didn't earn, a gift we don't do anything for. Years and years ago in a church program, I learned a very mysterious definition for grace. It was unmerited favor. Now, all of that sounds really churchy, but what could that mean? Well, it seems to me that somewhere, as only God can do in His very self, He made a decision to accept you and me just as we are. With our past, with our present, with whatever our future may be, He has accepted us. Perhaps grace is an expression of God's love, or maybe love inspires grace. I'm not sure about that, but this I do know. Grace, we don't do anything for it. We don't do anything to receive it. We don't do anything. It is God's gift to us. I thought maybe there would be lots of references to grace. particularly in the Gospels, because we often talk about how gracious Jesus is, but I was surprised to find that there are only 3 references to grace in the Gospels, all in the first chapter of John. And I've chosen that passage of Scripture just to give us a little point of reference for grace tonight. And you'll find that verse as it now appears on your screen. In the prologue of John, the writer is talking about Jesus as the Word. And he goes on to say, "And the Word became flesh and lived among us, full of grace and truth. From his fullness we have received grace upon grace." It sounds as if grace, which was expressed in Jesus, is not something we are worthy of, not something we can earn, not something we can do something in order to receive, but it is shared quite lavishly with us from the very heart of God. Grace. We are received and loved as the people we are. Grace embraces us, even with all the baggage that we're carrying. Grace sees beyond our protestations that somehow we're not good enough for God to pay any attention to. Grace overcomes so much because it is an acceptance that flows through to us from the very heart of God. Now, that sounds a lot like theology there, doesn't it? But there is grace all around us every day. We receive gifts we did nothing to earn, that we're not worthy of in any way, that we didn't have to do anything to receive. You know, the sunrise can be a gift of grace. An amazing sunset can be a gift of grace. Looking out across the Smoky Mountains, mountains are a gift of grace, and maybe the Rockies too, and of course the oceans. The smile on the face of a stranger can be a gift of grace. The love of a child can be a gift of grace. They come to us, they come our way, they fill our lives as gifts. Not long ago, I received one of those very special gifts of grace. It was before the pandemic, but Rita, my wife, was down in Greenville, South Carolina with my grandchildren and my son and my daughter-in-law. And I was going down to join them. I left here late on a Sunday afternoon and I drove to South Carolina, and I got there after midnight. Everybody was already in bed. I didn't see Kip, my grandson, or Julia, my granddaughter, that night at all. The next morning, when I awakened, I could hear the voices of Rita and Jen and Kip in his room. I got up and I walked into the room. They were all on the floor. Kip was playing with his trucks. And as I entered the room, he looked up. The expression on his face told me that he recognized who I was. And then he left his toys. He stood up. He walked over to me, lifted up his arms for me to pick him up, which I did. He threw his arms around my neck and laid his head right on my shoulder underneath my chin and hugged me tight. It was a gift of grace. It would have been fine if all he had looked up and said, "Hi, Papa." That would have been a gift of grace too. But that coming to me, that coming up into my arms, that hug, his head beneath my chin, was a gift of grace that changed me more than I'm willing to confess to you tonight. So, on this Wednesday, let us reach out to contemplate some of the gifts of grace that may have come our way. Let us pause and reflect. Being accepted for who we are when our imperfections shine through is a gift of grace. Discovering that someone we wounded has forgiven us is a gift of grace. The next breath we take is a gift of grace. We have done nothing to deserve it, and we cannot demand it. Beautiful sunrises and amazing sunsets are gifts of grace appearing almost every day. The arrival of a card or a letter from a friend we've almost forgotten is a gift of grace. A song rising out of the depths of our memories is a gift of grace. A smile on the face of a stranger is a gift of grace. A view from a mountaintop is a gift of grace. A child who loves us is a gift of grace. I hope you'll spend a few moments reflecting, looking across today, and identifying some gifts of grace, and then offer grace, which is a prayer of gratitude. Now, I hope that you'll take these words of wisdom with you along the journey. When we don't have to explain or defend why we are who we are, we have had a brush with grace. See you on the trail. Good night.